Okay, now we're starting a new section of material, and here we're going to be learning how to factor. This is our first bit of factoring. So if you'll remember, we did a lot of multiplication, division, but the factoring is going to be basically going backwards from multiplication. Okay, so in most of these factoring techniques, I'm hoping that you've seen before and that this is just kind of a brief review for you. If not, then you may want to, really focus in on it if it's something that's completely foreign to you. Okay, when we factor something, doesn't matter, what it is. If you see, factor this polynomial, then you need to go step by step. And the first step is that you always factor out the greatest common factor, or the GCF. Now, to do this, let me go back and I'm going to kind of back into this again. What if you saw a problem that said 3 times x plus z? What would you do in order to do that multiplication? Well, this looks like a distribution problem, doesn't it? So we would have to distribute our 3. 3 times x would be 3x, and 3 times z would be a positive 3z. Okay, if we can go forwards and multiply, then we should be able to go backwards, and given this polynomial, we should be able to factor it back out into its two factors, the two things that multiply together to get this polynomial. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. Now, when we look at this, can we see that there is a common 3 in both of those terms? So in order to factor it, we would want to kind of do reverse distribution. We're going to pull out that common 3 that they have in there, and we already know what the answer should be. So if we work our way backwards to it, maybe it would help. So we have to say, what would we multiply to 3 to get 3x? And that would be an x. And then what would we have to multiply to 3 to get 3z? And that would be a positive z. So this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say factor out the GCF. In a very real way, it is just reverse distribution. So let's begin looking at this problem. Here we have 5x plus 35. So we're going to factor out the GCF. In this problem, we have a common 5 in both of these terms. So I'm going to reverse distribute, or factor that 5 out. Now 5 times what would give us 5x? That would be x. And then 5 times what would give us a positive 35? That would be a positive 7. So this is factoring the GCF out of that term. Let's do another one. Here we have 12a squared plus 45a. Can we see what we have in common here in both of these terms? Well, it's very apparent that they both have a's. And as far as numbers, we can pull a 3 out of both of those terms. So I'm going to factor out a 3a. Now 3a times what would give us 12a squared? That would be a 4a. If we were to multiply those back together, we would get that first term. And 3a times what would give us 45a? Well, that would be a positive 15. So this is factoring the GCF out of that binomial. Now, we do have just a little bit different of a situation when we see something like this, but it is the same. It just looks different. Here again, we have two terms here. So what do they have in common? Well, I see a 3c minus 2 in both of those. So if I were to factor that out, if I were to pull that out of this first term, we'd have a 5c left. And if we were to factor that out, or pull it out of this second term, we would have a minus 3. Now, if I were to distribute that 3c minus 2 back throughout the parentheses, I would get right back to where we started. So this is factoring out a binomial, which works the same way.